Welcome to 101. I'm Greg Bassett, your host from the Salisbury Independent newspaper. It's a big day here at PAC 14. They're all big. All the days here are big, but this is a big one because we have a newsmaker with us today. People have been calling me saying, "Get this man on your show. We have questions." He's Delegate Carl Anderton. Welcome, sir.
Well, thank you, man. Yeah, you called me up and said, "Hey, could you come sit down with you today?" You said that thousands of people have reached out to you wanting to do this interview. So I guess we shall do it.
We shall do it.
Yeah. So what's on your mind, brother?
So how was your summer?
My summer? Well, in light of, COVID and all the restrictions and everything, and unable to go to Montreal this summer like I usually do every year. I'd go up for a week, go to a football game. As you know, the Montreal Alouettes,
Yes.
Canadian Football League, used to play in Baltimore.
That's
They
correct.
were the Baltimore CFL Stallions, and so
Right.
it's kind of been a little tradition of mine to go up there. So that chain broke. And so, but it was interesting, I mean, other than, the month of, August.
Well, that's what we want to know about
Yeah,
because
sure.
you've all been on a mental roller coaster here.
You could say that.
I'm sure everyone knows by now, but you were a candidate for appointment as
Right.
county executive.
So I interviewed for a job.
You interviewed for a job in front of everyone,
Sure.
which was on TV and in front of everyone. You had that luxury. You did really well in the interview.
Well, that's always good.
But the people that were there thought this is like a no-brainer.
Right.
You didn't get the job.
No.
And then some of the flaws in our system were exposed. Not in the system so much, but in the leadership of the system, I think, were exposed. And then you were, are we allowed to say jerked around? You were jerked around, it seemed like to me as a reporter guy, for a good 8 weeks there. And you went through it with great resolution. You were very dignified through this whole thing. So we just want to take your temperature and see how you're
Sure.
doing and see
Yeah,
what you might want to say about any of this stuff.
No, I'll be honest with you. Let me just start off by saying the support from everybody. Can I do the Joe Biden and look right at the camera? The support that you have shown me, seriously, all kidding aside.
Can I
those-
interrupt you while
Yes, of course.
you're looking at the camera?
Right. And
Okay, good.
let me preface by saying that those who watch this 10 years from now, there was a presidential debate last night of epic proportions between
Epic.
President Donald Trump and former VP Joe Biden. That if you did not get the chance to see that, I would encourage you to do that.
To
And
never see it.
I hope Saturday Night Live does not let me down. As Saturday Night Live is a show that came on. Seriously, the reaction from the residents of this county towards me has been something that I just would have never, in my wildest dreams or imaginations, have ever guessed. The people still reaching out. When I say thousands, I literally mean thousands. We kind of, Kendall and myself, we kind of lost count somewhere around 3,000. And so we were trying to keep track of emails and text messages and phone calls and Facebook messages and direct messages through Twitter and people actually coming and knocking on my door.
Yeah.
Stopping me in the store and it has just been unreal. From Tyaskin to Willard's, it's just been truly amazing the way that you never know really if. When you get into public service, or for me anyway, I just wanted to help my neighbors. That was the whole point. It had nothing to do with anything, no chest thumping. I'm not really a show pony. I'm more of a workhorse. And so, to see that, people, you've touched lives in a way, with helping people, and that they have your back. To everyone who's, like I said, who stood in front of me, beside me, and behind me pushing through this, wanting me to come home from Annapolis and help guide this county forward through this economic slowdown and what lies ahead. It's just been an amazing experience. And the whole ordeal with the council and everything you said was worth it just for that. And so my goal now is to find a way, moving forward, you have to pay that back to everybody who supported you. You have to find a way to give that support the respect it deserves, to honor it, if you will. And so that's what we're trying to figure out now. But it was awesome. I had the opportunity to craft a vision, a what if you will. What would we do with the opportunity? And I think we put out a great plan. We had a great interview. It was just a really good experience, up until the point of whatever personal politics got in the way, and that's the part that was a little odd, if you will. You just would naturally assume that folks in office would listen to the people who support them.
Right.
I'm not sure if they got emails that I didn't, but I was copied on everybody else's emails. Thank you for doing that. This was an organic movement. I didn't go out soliciting help. It was people reaching out to me. And so for me, that's all I need. To the four people who had four individual reasons, jointly or not, to not want to appoint me to this seat for 2 years. I mean, I'm not worried about that. I'm looking at the greater community, the people who actually live and work here, who pay taxes, who have come out to support me. That's what I'm looking at. And that to me was, like I said, was worth the whole ordeal. But all in all, summer was great. It's fall now. Football season started, so things are...
What amazed me the most through this is you never got mad. You never got upset. You never were pathetic. You never seemed to pout. The whole thing just sort of rolled off of you, and you kept a positive attitude through the whole thing. And I'm not sure I would have reacted that way.
Well, you learn in Annapolis, that working with 141 different, ideological mindsets, that you can't control stuff that you can't control. Just like people don't know what they don't know, you can't control what you can't control. And I can't control the hearts and minds of the people in the county council, so I went into this not even attempting to do that. But to win over the respect of, pillars in this community like Bill McCain and John Cannon, and Josh Hastings, who I've known for a long time. But to have those two guys defend you in public was amazing to me, and something I just never expected. I didn't know what to expect to go into this, but I did not expect those two community giants in their respective fields, come out and defend me, with passion. It was just something that it brought tears to my eyes to see these guys, who I just assumed they thought of me as an afterthought.
And with all three of those guys, what I see as a reporter guy is politically, they had nothing to gain by supporting you the way they did.
They're completely on opposite ends.
They wanted to do the right thing is what it looked like.
And, but to have that experience, like I said, through this whole thing, between the community's outreach and community pillars, reaching out, to have the CEO of, Purdue Farms, call me a warrior for agriculture. That's going on a T-shirt,
right?
By the way, and then to have other community leaders call me the People's Champ. That's also going on a T-shirt. We're going to have some fun over the next 2 years, really stretching out across the county, and I'm looking forward to getting out there and just repaying everybody by supporting them across this county. And it's been, there's no point in getting upset over stuff you can't control. If you want to look at it from like playing chess or something, you see the strategy of other people, and you see the hearts and minds of other people, and so that gives you an insight of where to move forward. And there's people, as still a moderately younger guy looking at older, more established people, you try to mold your mindset after good qualities, and so you see good qualities and you see not good qualities, and so you're able to kind of look at this panoramic view in front of you and say, okay, well, I want to mimic these qualities, but I'm probably not that one. So that was a benefit. is to see people, because I'd had conversations with the council members, I'd heard things like from some council members that had nothing to do with what I would be doing at all, and that they didn't like the fact that in Annapolis, I work with Democrats. But they equally said they enjoyed the successes and the fruits of our labor,
Right.
But just not how we got it. So
Right.
it's like, I like the apples you brought me. I don't like how you picked them.
Right.
So, but that makes it okay, right? Or it doesn't. Why does that not, so it's just
It's
kind of
hypocrisy in its purest form.
right, but that's okay. We're going to keep doing what we're doing because it's working. Right now we have up on the docket for the Board of Public Works something that we've been speaking with the comptroller and the governor about the exterior of the Civic Center. As you know, a couple of years ago, we received funding for the interior, the new seats and everything. So now we're working on that. But I'm sure that there will be people who think it's dastardly that I would talk to the Democratic comptroller, who's probably going to be the next governor.
He's got the checkbook.
Right.
You talk to the guy with a checkbook.
So it's just it's just mindful of the political climate we're in. That but nonetheless, it was a learning experience, and if you don't have an experience that you learn from, it was a waste. And I definitely learned from that. I learned that I need to continue to be myself and not change.
Because I'm sure a lot of people told you, you need to be more serious and you need to clean up and,
Right.
Don't be everyone's buddy. I'm sure you've been told that a million times.
Yeah.
I think I've told you that 100
Yes.
times.
But I wore a plain suit just for you. I want you to know that.
But you got to be you.
Right.
And that takes guts sometimes.
But that's what works. That's what works. The point is, going to Annapolis and whatever you do in life is not about yourself. It's not about grandstanding, getting on a soapbox, hey, look at me, and press releases and all this different nonsense. It's about bringing home the best return you can on the tax dollars of the folks that are paying in. And so whatever has to be done, within reason, you do to bring home those fruits.
Right.
And that's the point. That's the point in all this. It's not about, hey, look at me. If you're out there doing that, then, I make it a personal point that every time I put anything out on social media, I never use the word I when it comes to the job that I've been given the honor to do. It's we. Because nothing's done unilaterally. Even if you're county executive, nothing's done unilaterally. Somebody had to type the paper you signed. It's always a we. And, that's the part that, gets lost. There's a lot of times you see things, I did this and I did that and blah, blah, blah. And that's just not what it's supposed to be. And so, again, through this whole experience, that helped reinforce that in my head that, that it's we, it's us, it's the community together. And I'm just lucky to have been chosen to work for them, And so in 2 years, maybe I'll get lucky enough to be chosen to work for them again, maybe in a new position. And we will give that position the absolute respect it deserves, just like we do with the one that we're in now. Yes, we have a good time, we laugh, we high-five before COVID, but we're building relationships. And that way, I want anybody who reaches out to me know that they're not just calling someone who works for them, they're calling a friend, they're calling a family member. And that's the whole point. And I think that's gotten lost over the years.
Right.
The committee chair of one of the committees I serve on sent me a letter of endorsement. That's amazing because there's kind of an unwritten rule
Right.
that you don't endorse the opposite party.
Right.
But I think that's amazing. And I think that, when this is all said and done, that's one of the things I'll look back on is seeing how people kind of, push their limits. For me, I'm not worthy of it. But for folks to go and take a step out on the ledge for me is just, through this whole thing, I always pivot back to the beginning is I have to find a way to honor those people, everyone, and whether that's working harder, whether that's running for a different office, whether it's giving up public service altogether and doing anything else, whatever it is, I have to find a way to honor the respect that was shown to me undeservingly by the community, the residents of this county. That is just the most amazing thing, outside of my wife and kids, that has ever happened to me. And every day I wake up and I just still think about it, and I will for the next 2 years. And it's going to motivate me because, like my cousin Jimmy says, got to give the people what they want. And we might put that on a T-shirt too. But all in all, man, it's just, it's such a learning experience. I'm grateful for it. I'm grateful for the exact way it played out. I have learned more about myself and about this county through this perceived debacle, whether it's true or not.
They pay me to kind of make judgments on these things, and it was a debacle. Yeah.
Than if I had been unanimously appointed.
Yeah.
If I had been just that night and they just said, okay, let's give it to him, I would have never learned about the way this county feels, about, someone like me, or just, the direction they want to travel in the future. So to me, it was the best gift that the council members could have given me, was that insight, and, so.
I want to talk about structure a little bit.
Sure.
And we have not rehearsed this at all. So I'm going places you might not want to go, I don't know. But I'm preparing 2 stories for the upcoming paper. One is the history of the county executive, why we have it, why we decided to move toward that form of government, what we thought it was going to get us, and how the intentions of 2006 are not being realized in this current situation. There's problems for the acting county executive and the county council everywhere.
Right.
And I'm not seeing anyone telling me how they're going to address any of these problems. So I need to dig into that. Now, one of the things you did is you prepared a document which you brought to your job interview, 2 documents. One talked about how to encourage the public to be more involved in something and all that's going on. And the other was what you see is what you would like to get accomplished.
Right.
I'm not seeing that from anybody else right now.
Right.
No one seems to be acting on that. Now, maybe they're doing it behind closed doors, or maybe they're not doing it at all. So I want to get your feelings on all the problems that we're facing. And if you were county executive, how would you have maybe dealt with some of these things?
Sure. I'll give out free advice to the council and acting executive. John Pessotto, by the way, is somebody that I would absolutely love to work with. I've worked with him for years as the city manager in Fruitland, and so I definitely would have kept him, as well as the majority of the county employees, with us. I thought that Executive Culver had put together a good team, and then we would have filled the vacancies with some folks. I mean, you're only as successful as the county executive as the people who are around you. It's not a one-person show. You're not sitting in the office all day, typing on a computer or a calculator. You are the voice and the face of this county. You're the salesman of the county, the lobbyist of the county, and so your job is to be in Annapolis. When a county executive walks into a committee room in Annapolis,
people notice that.
They notice that.
Yeah.
And that carries weight. When a county executive, like I would have been able to just walk in the governor's office like I do now, with the comptroller or whatever, and that carries, weight. So that's the purpose of having a county executive. And then it's also the face of the county when you're out attracting business. Like, you should be out meeting with the Under Armours of the world, even though they're struggling now. But this is when you capitalize on that. Meeting at small businesses, working with, SWED and your economic development, working with the Secretary of the Chamber of Commerce, to find ways to get us on the map, to make sure you implement a tax structure that is favorable to businesses relocating, because without businesses, there's no jobs. Without jobs, there's no quality of life. Without quality of life, you got nothing. And so, you have to start from there. And that's something that I think is an easy fix. Moving over to some of the priorities, I mean, with the bond market, you have to have peace in the community. Those underwriters, they don't know you. All they do is they Google you, and if they see a bunch of infighting, you're not going to get that sweet interest rate.
Yeah, and I'm guilty of writing those stories, yeah.
You're going to get that interest rate over here that, need a co-signer.
But you have to go to New York, sit across the table from these guys.
Absolutely.
They look at you like you're some redneck from the farm.
Right.
And they don't want to give you money if they don't believe in you. They're going to look you in the eye.
Right.
And I used to think Bob Culver will never be able to present himself up there. But he did.
He did.
He put the suit on.
Absolutely.
And he was a sincere guy.
Yes. And that can be done.
Yeah, and that worked. Rick Pollitt had an appeal.
Right.
So I think whoever the executive needs to have that ability to not snow the bond
You're not
people,
snowing
but
them. You're coming up and you're bringing
to let them
forth-
know that you
right, your
have
plan and we're together.
belief
we're
in your
working together.
county. You've
Right.
got a vision.
Right.
So trust me with the money at the lowest rate.
Right. No, absolutely. It's like, I had some council members give me a hard time because I work well with Mayor Jake Day, City of Salisbury. Well,
How dare you?
he's literally my boss. you know what I mean?
Yes.
As a delegate. So, he came forth with a list of priorities from, Main Street to, numerous things all along downtown on the north end and south end. And so we worked together on those. But
You got him $1 million a couple years ago when he wasn't able to get any money from anybody.
right, yeah. So, but I say that to say that you have to have that structure of cooperation. You disagree. Me and him, we do disagree. We disagree behind closed doors. We don't do it publicly. That's just the way it works. I learned
Right.
that from when I was first elected in 2005 in Delmar. Mayor Doug Niblett at the time said, look, this is how this is going to work.
And
Right.
Doug, bless his heart, is not the easiest guy to get along
He
with.
said, if you got a problem, we're going to close the door and we're going
Right.
to settle it like men.
Yeah.
But when we walk out this door, we're not talking about this in public
Right.
because we want the public to have confidence in us that we could work together. And so I've carried that the whole way through. And that's what I do now. And some people just don't like that. They think you should throw barbs in public. And that's what affects the return on your investment of your tax money, because then you're paying a higher interest rate, whether you believe it or not. You're kicking a point for bad behavior. So, these things all work together. The landfill, that was something that I worked with the county executive, and we all worked together with a delegate Democrat from Baltimore County who was putting forth legislation to stop landfill expansion. And I went with him. I said, look, we're in a pickle, man. Can you give me enough time?
And I was wrong. It might be
Right.
20 years, but 20 years
Yes.
is like a minute.
20 years is a minute.
Yeah.
And so, but
With
we were
something
able
like
to
a landfill.
We were able to get that expansion
Right.
in under the time limit.
Right.
And he said to me, if you can get your county to have a purchase agreement for land, they'll be grandfathered in.
Right.
Now, what we have to do moving forward with the landfill is find another location. Historically, we just can't keep throwing everything bad on the west side of Salisbury.
Right.
So we have to find another spot.
But I don't hear anyone saying things like that. I don't hear anyone identifying problems like that
Right.
and saying, here's what we need. And that's what the county executive does.
Exactly. No, I agree, absolutely. And you have institutional knowledge. You have Rick Pollitt still here, who was county executive for 8 years, and who's a Democrat.
How dare you
But
mention
how
him out
dare
loud
you-
like
right,
that? Yeah.
Right, but that's somebody that you
And
reach out
that's
to.
the beauty of all this too. And there'll be in my story, but the evolution of this situation
Right.
was that Democrats had been in charge of the county council. They passed a huge tax increase. It led to a voice. Republicans are like, if we could get a county executive system of government, maybe we could get a Republican in there to
Right.
keep the Democrats in check. That was part of the politics behind the scenes. A Democrat gets elected, right, for 8 years. So, and then there's a recession. Everything's
Right.
a big mess.
Yep.
And then finally, when things clear out, they get a Republican in there, and that's probably how it'll be forever. There'll probably always be Republicans.
There's more Democrats registered, in
But
this
still,
county.
based on the voting
Right.
patterns, forever. That it should be Republican for life, based on how it's kind of structured right now. I don't know that will happen, but that's how it should be.
We'll find out.
Yeah, but you need someone with that vision to be looking over the horizon at things
Yeah,
and
that's-
offering some solutions.
Exactly. You have to look past, like the public safety building, for Sheriff Mike Lewis. When we were in Delmar, I went to the police chief. I said, you need a new building. Tell me what you want. I don't know what you want.
Right.
And so he got what he wanted. And so this should be the same thing with the sheriff. He should get what he wants. He knows what he needs, and now I'm hearing that, the council's, trying to pick the building apart.
Even that was mishandled because the executive was ill.
Right.
Told different things to different people.
Right.
There wasn't a coordinated attack on this thing. It was only going to be 5 or 8 or 10 million. Suddenly it's going to be 30 million.
There's no way you're building anything that we need for this county 50 years from now for $5 million.
Right. So it's going to be as much as the Mardala School, basically.
But you have to remember, that's your center of emergency operations.
But no communication with the council. Council wasn't asking the right
Right.
questions, and now it's a big mess. It's going to be a big mess now.
Yes, of course.
So you need that coordination
Right.
at the top.
And the goal of the executive, whoever he or she may be, is 50, that building will be built with a life cycle of 50 years.
Right.
You need to be looking past that for what's next already. You need to be looking past that for what's next. As soon as you build a brand new Beaver Run, you should already be looking for what's next. You should have those things in place. You have to be really long range.
You need a pipeline.
Right, absolutely. You have to have that thought cycle going. They should already have a thought cycle on Bennett Middle. There needs to be another high school in the county in the next 20, 30 years. Where are we putting that? That's the stuff that needs to be figured out. Now, granted, a lot of those decisions with schools are made by
The school board.
school board, but you should have your own vision.
Right.
So that way, the school board's elected now.
Or be in unison
Right.
with the school board so that when
Absolutely.
they come up with these ideas, like
We go.
the superintendent wants to
Right.
build an arts school and put it downtown, you're not like, what?
Right.
Like you
already
have some
know.
clue about what she wants to do.
Not only do you know, I mean, you know the end result.
Right.
That's the whole point in this. Is to be, is to cast that vision out. Is to throw your fleece and see what happens. But, that's what we were preparing to do, and I'm still working on it. I still have stuff I write down every day. Okay, what about this? We're working on stuff with the airport now. In our mind, just sketches of what if. And, so that way, if we're elected in 2 years, the day we're sworn in, we can roll.
What happens in 2022 with Carl Anderton?
I mean, it's up to the residents of Wycomico County. I believe we're going to give them the opportunity to have a say. I know that they've wanted a say, and they have asked for a month now, this is what we want. Well, we're going to give them a shot.
So you'd like to be the county executive, or do you want to return to the State House?
So, I think because of the reaction from this county, I have to honor that. And I think the best way to honor it is to run.
To run for county executive.
So, barring the unforeseen,
Right.
I don't see any reason why we're not running for this office in 2 years.
All right, there you go. There's the news of the day. He's definitely going to do it, he says. And then when he changes his mind, I get to write,
The unforeseen showed up.
Carl Anderton, thanks for being here today.
No,
I'm
thank
sorry
you.
to ask these hard questions.
That's
but
all right.
like I said, people want to know what's on Carl's mind.
Absolutely, man. I love everybody, man. It's just been awesome. Please, if you need anything at all, 443-359-1335. I'm sure in the lower third, it's got a website. Hit Facebook, Twitter, all that. I'll do whatever I can to help you.
He will call you back, which is amazing.
I'll do my best.
I'm Greg Bassett from the Salisbury Independent Newspaper. Another edition of One-on-One right here on PAC 14.
First Shore Federal is proud to support PAC 14 and One-on-One. We'd encourage every business to support PAC 14 and pick a program and support it, and let's make a difference.